Welcome back to Pete's Garage for another edition of my BMW Wagon LS swap. If you haven't seen any of my videos so far, I'm going to put a link up here to the beginning of the playlist so you can follow along and get up to speed. For those of you who have been watching, welcome back. And last time I got my motor mounts finished. Now I'm going to have to work on the headers. Making a set of headers is quite time consuming and pretty difficult. You just have to be patient with it and make the cuts and kind of visualize how you're going to get from point A to point B without running into stuff. This is only the second set of headers I've ever built, and I am not a professional fabricator. I'm just trying to make my skills better as I go and save myself money in the process. My last set of headers for my 3 Series, my E36 that I built, they were definitely not the prettiest. However, they did not leak and they got the job done. I really didn't have any problems with them, so I can't really complain too much. And I pretty much did the same thing I'm doing here. What I have done is I have purchased off of Jegs 2 LS header flanges, one for each side. These are some thick header flanges right here. These are actually 2-inch in diameter right here. This inside diameter is 2 inches because I am building mine out of 1 7/8" tubing. And pretty much your choices for header flanges are either 1 3/4 or 2 inch. So I can fit an 1 7/8" pipe in there, and then once I tack weld it and everything and finish weld it, it'll be fine. So that's how you start, is you got to start with a set of flanges that bolt to the motor, and then we need our header pipes. And let me show you what I did. Okay, so I bought a weld up header kit from Jegs that comes with a bunch of mandrel pre-bent pipes. And you can see that these headers, oh my goodness, if you put them on a car the way they are, and this one says it is pipe number 4, so this is a small block Chevy header kit. If you put these things on something, look how far back they go, but that's a bunch of straight pipe that I can use. I'm going to end up having to cut them down, but maybe, just maybe, they'll be kind of close because it kind of looks like I got quite a bit of room. Like I said, I think I got more room on this build than I do on my E36 that I did, so we'll just go from there. All right. So that was set number 4. This one is number 6. This is gonna be something like that, because this is for a small block Chevy, even though I'm putting them on an LS. But it gives us the idea of what we're doing. That's number 5. But there's so many different bends. Number 8. You can see number 8 here. You can kind of get an idea of how they wanted to do this. Let's be this one too. I'm not quite sure how they wanted that one. They may have wanted this one all the way on the inside. Something maybe like that, I guess, is how they wanted them from the factory, or from, Jegs. However, I'm obviously not going to be able to go with that exact setup, but really, it doesn't look too terrible. Now this set of pipes, I mean, granted, they're not stainless steel, they're just mild steel. They're cheap. I mean, I got the whole set for, I think it was a little over $100 for the pipes and the collectors. Now this is a 3.5-inch collector, so it's a little bigger than I want. So I'll end up necking it down to probably, I'm going to go 3-inch exhaust, dual 3-inch exhaust back. But you know what? This is going to work. All right, over here on the passenger side, there will be a starter in the way. Now I need to install the starter so I know how much clearance I'm going to have. The last set of headers I built, I didn't have the starter, and somehow I managed to, for the most part, have them pretty good. I did have to clearance just a little bit where this bottom voltage, I think the header barely hit that and rubbed it. So I want to try to avoid that this time. So I'm going to go ahead and install the starter so I know where I need to avoid. Alright, hopefully you can see down there. You can see the starter, and now I don't quite have as much room as I had before. So things get a little bit tighter as you start putting the pieces in there that you got to try to get around. So what I also need to make sure that I can do is get access to spark plugs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw some junk spark plugs in here while I do this. So I'm going to screw some spark plugs, put some spark plug wires on there, because I want to make sure that I can get to the spark plugs easily. That's one big gripe about headers that most people have, is that you can't get to the spark plugs to do a spark plug change. So I'm going to go ahead and put spark plugs and spark plug wires in there, so then I can make sure my pipes are in the right spot. I also want to use these spark plug boot covers because they keep the heat from the headers off of the spark plug boots. They don't burn up. So you can see I had a little heat on that one, didn't even burn it up. So I'm going to go ahead and put those on there. I would really kick myself if I built the headers and either it's burning the spark plugs, spark plug wires, or I can't access them, and it just makes my life a living hell. Now, I put the spark plug wires and the spark plugs in there so I can make sure that I have plenty of room around them. As far as how much I can let that come out, I don't think I want this to come out more than 4 inches. So I'm going to cut my number 8 primary tube off where I have about 4 inches, and then I can always cut a little bit more. These are going to be pretty straight. So to be honest with you, I'm not quite sure I even need this bend for this header. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come pretty much straight out of the motor, down, and curve back. So that should be pretty easy. There's not much in the way on this side. So I might be able to cut a couple of the curves out on this and save myself some curves, because I might need these for the other side to get around that steering shaft. So what I think I'm going to do is I got to find a straight piece of this section here that I'm going to cut. So probably somewhere right there. It works best if you cut in the straight piece of the section so the circle, whenever you look at the end, is perfectly round. If you cut that during one of the corners, it'll look almost kind of oval shaped. And then trying to get it pieced to a straight piece or something like that, your pieces don't line up quite perfectly. So I said 4 inches. I don't think I quite want that. I think I probably want 3.5-ish. I wish that made almost a 90, but I can kind of angle it down if I need to. We'll see what happens here. As you can see how far that sticks up right now, I mean, that's almost 8 inches. So really, from after the bend, I want only 4 inches, so that's way down there, so I get to cut some of that off. In the straight section, somewhere around right there. And then I want about 4 inches. I'm going to cut, we'll call it about right there. So my first cut, I'm going to cut this off right there. And then I'm going to come over here and do this. Alright, now I gotta kind of clean that up because you can see it kind of just melts the metal. And I'll definitely have to clean out the inside of it and everything. Now I gotta chop off this side. So I got my spark plug wires in there, and you can see how this is going to sit in there. Now I could tilt it and make this my inside top pipe, or I could leave it out like that, make it my outside top pipe, which I think I'm going to do. Let's see what the radius is on the number 5 pipe, or I guess 6. Number 6 here. What's the radius look like on number 6? That's this pipe right here. No, that's still not. Are they all like that? That's the question. Ooh, that's about a 90 on that one. Okay. Oh, that's even tighter than a 90. Okay, so number 2 over here, they have really tight. So a tight radius on number 2. I almost think my number 2 needs to come out wide and go down. I can do number 2 down and outward. Number 4 is going to go down and inside. So I think I need to take my 90-degree radius that I have that's supposed to be for this number 4 and put it as my number 6. Whereas I can use this one right there. Boom. I mean, that's pretty good access to the spark plug right there. You know, it's not going to interfere here with my spark plug wire on that side. I think that's what I'm going to do, somewhere around right there. So I just need to tack that in place to hold it. And that's where it gets fun, trying to get in there and tack these things in place. Now let's go see how she fits on the number 6 primary. Well, I finally got smart on the last one. Instead of making 2 cuts to get this angle, I left the part at the top and decided I'm going to end up flipping it because I need a long stretch down there of straight pipe. And so I only made 1 cut versus making 2 cuts on the others. So that will definitely save me some time. As far as cutting goes. I'm going to start back here at this back one, and I'm going to tack it in place. So this one's going outside and down, so almost straight down. So that one's tacked in place. Let's go with number 6 here. Let's see how this sits in here. Now I probably should throw the spark plug wire on that. Just so I can have an idea where those are going to sit. Okay, this one's going to go down. And it's going to tuck inside of that one. So both of these are going to be on the top. That is the beginnings of a header. Now, I'm going to have to try to figure out how I'm going to get all these down there. I'm going to have to start moving down to the bottom, I believe. Okay. Sharp. Now, since I need to make my collector 4 pipes that all come together, I need a beginning part, which I already got, which is the header flange, and then I need an ending, and I need to figure out where I'm going to put all these pipes. So it makes it easiest if I kind of set them up like they're going to be on a collector right there. So then, once I get one pipe, I can then have the other pipes kind of come into a similar setup there, and I'll know where my collector is going to go. Now that's going to be a tight bend coming into this one, but I'll get it figured out here. And I'm going to use zip ties to kind of hold it all together. Okay, so I'll cut off my zip ties here and everything, but I got the makings of my collector, and so I can kind of get everything into position where I want, as you can see, and I can pivot and turn things. And so once I get this first pipe exactly where I want, then all it is connecting the dots in between my pipes. So hopefully that'll work, except for this one I think I need to rotate, because I think it's my inside bottom. But I can still move them around a little bit in here. So you can kind of see I still got my zip ties all on there and everything. Ooh. See, that's not going to work. I'm going to hit my starter right there. I'm going to have to work on this a little bit. I got to come down a little bit further before I can get to where I want to be. So that's going to have to go in there, and I'm going to have an extension on that. All right, just live and learn. I got to add a little bit more to that pipe. Okay, because I think I need my collectors down here. So if that comes down underneath the header there, that'll give me more room for this bend right there. So I just need to add some more to that pipe. But this gives me an idea of what I want, and when I get it there on my first pipe, as you can see, this has to be way back there. But whenever I get my collector where I want here and tucked up, like it'll be nice about right there for the clamps and stuff, and it stays, you know, above that. It'll stay above, even with that frame rail. I think that's about where I got to go right there. So I do have to add about 6 inches or so, well, actually probably about 10 inches or so to that pipe in order to get it where I want. Luckily, I've got a lot of straight pipe. All right, so here you can see I've got my collector kind of set up a little bit right there. Just got my first tube all the way tacked in. Now I got to start getting some other tubes on there and start putting the pieces together. You can see my collector here. Clearance to the floor. I got a good, you know, 1/2 inch or so at least, depending on how I kind of pivot it. So should be good there. It's a good start. All right, so I now have the header tacked up. All right, and I got to do a little bit of work on this collector. So as you can see, my pipes don't quite line up right now, but they will once I shorten them and then tack them all together and get them moved. Now, right here, this is my number 8 primary. You can see it is fairly close to my cross member there. Hopefully I don't have to worry about it hitting. If it does, then I'll have to just ding it just a little bit or something. Didn't have much room to work there. I said number 8. That's the number 2. And you can see how close and tight it is right there to this cross member. I'm hoping that I can pull it up a little bit and get it in there a little closer. You can see my motor mount clearance is really good. That's all looking pretty good. I don't have to worry about that. I got enough clearance on my starter right now that I can still get onto the starter bolt. I wanted to make sure I could get that starter in and out with the header there. That's still okay. Yep, just got a little bit more kind of adjusting to do, and then it's weld these headers all the way up. and that takes forever. So the good news is, after getting this passenger side header done, I still have various radiuses of bends and different angles for the other side, especially this tight one right here. I think I'm going to definitely need some of these tighter bends to try to get around that steering shaft. So it's kind of, I tried to use the least amount of bends I could. All right, time for the million-dollar question. Can I get the header out through the top, or does it have to all come out the bottom? Okay, as of right now, it comes out the top, but I bet with a collector on there, it might be a little bit more difficult. All right, here's this header. It's not the best in the world, but you know what? It'll work. And I just got to get everything kind of tacked up now. Well, it's already tacked, but I got to start welding it a lot better. Here we go. All right, I don't want to go too much at one time because I don't want to warp these things any more than they're going to, because once they get real hot, they start moving around on you and everything. All right, here's where my header stands right now. Actually, I took off those three so I could fully weld them. You know, I mean, there is something to be said with the quality that you get whenever you pay for headers, and making them yourself, it takes a ton of time. And if you're not an expert welder or fabricator, you know, you do it once or twice every 10 years, you know, it takes a little bit of time. So, or, you know, it just doesn't quite look nearly as good. However, I need to get these pieces back in the vehicle so I can get my collector all lined up so I can hack this all off at the right angle and everything and get it just right to where it all fits, and re-tack it up there at the flange. All right, so all these fit and everything, and then once they're fully welded at the flange, which is what I'm going to do next, then I can take care of my collector down there. So once they're all fully welded, these things shouldn't go anywhere. I still got to make sure I have good clearance right here at my cross member, and once I verify that, then I hack that off and then I take care of my collector. But I got to make sure I have good starter clearance and frame clearance, and I guess I'll go from there. So next thing I need to do is I need to put this header back into the vehicle, which is this. Since this is my reference point right there, this one tube, And then I will start piecing the other ones together, and I will zip tie them back at the collector again and weld it back up at the flange. At this point, I pretty much have a bunch of tubes just like I had in the kit originally, but now the tubes are designed to fit to my car. Okay, they're all back in here. They're not exactly in the right spot, but I got to get down low and clamp them all together and make sure I got the right clearances. And then I can come up here and fully weld it up here at the top. That'll give me a pretty good spot for this collector. Oh yeah, that'll be good. All right, so I got all 4 pipes right here. I'm gonna have to end up obviously cutting those off. Now, one problem is I guess welding them kind of warped them in just a little bit. That does give me a little bit more frame clearance right there, but I am on that starter bolt, which I'm not real thrilled about. I thought that was gonna be pretty good, but it's not as good as I thought. So what I'm gonna have to do is I'm gonna ding the header just a little bit right there. It's not gonna affect much. It's not like they're beautiful or anything anyway. My last header was right on the starter too, but it was on the back side of the starter. This is a little different, this style of frame right there. But I do think that's gonna work out good right there. All right, I'm gonna re-tack this up there, so hopefully they all stay in place. As you can see, I'm welding the primary pipes to the inside of the header flange. I'm going to let it cool a little bit before. I don't want to get it too hot, so I'm about a little over halfway done. I'm going to let the flange cool. It's pretty damn hot right now, and then I'll finish it up in a little bit. All right, so I got the header bolted in. It's not 100% welded on the flange, but really close. I just wanted to make sure everything was fitting. And I tacked the 4 pipes together down here at the bottom so they're a little bit more rigid. And you can see where I'm going to have to make this filler star to go in the middle of there. But I have clearance down here at the cradle. And I actually have starter bolt clearance right there, but just barely. I mean, I'm still going to dent the pipe there so I can get that starter out. I think a little dent is not going to kill me. It's just going to be enough to where hopefully I can still service this thing by dropping that starter out if I need to. My collector is going to come down like that. All right, so that's going to go on there like that. I should have some room on the floor to the exhaust. All right, what do I have in my box of toys here? Okay, so the other part of the headers for the other side, don't mind the trash that's thrown in there, but I also have these pieces that are square right here. You can see those square pieces. Those are the pieces that are going to go into that star piece. So I got to turn this square into a star. Just got to kind of notch it out with my die grinder or something like that, carbide bit. All right, so here's my star cut out. I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect, but I guess the closer you get it, the better off you are. But really, that looks pretty damn close. And now I just need to tack it on there and then burn it in. So that seals the inside of those pipes right there. And then the collector is going to seal the outside of the pipes. Okay, now that that's kind of tacked on there, I'll just do the rest of it on the outside of the car. So I gotta unbolt the header, pull it back in, pull it back out. Once I get that done, then I gotta put it back on, then put the collector where I want, tack it, pull it out, weld it. But you gotta take the headers on and off a whole bunch of times. But we're getting there. All right, we are fully welded on our star right there in the middle. And so now I just need to kind of clean up all this around here with my grinder. And, that part's done, and then I just got to weld the collector on the outside. I'm going to make sure I bolt the insides first and work my way to the outsides. I'm going to get it fully bolted up to the head, and then I'm going to weld my collector on. Alright, so I cut down my collector, as you can see, and I have also added this reducer that reduces me from a 3.5 inch pipe down to a 3-inch exhaust pipe for my collector, which not only is going to make it so I can run a 3-inch exhaust out the back, but it also reduces my header down to where I can have a little bit more clearance at the collector, because I really don't need a 3.5 inch exhaust collector here, because that's kind of crazy. So let's see, I got some clearance there, which is good. I'm just going to need to figure out exactly where I want to put this, which I think that looks pretty good right there. And then I'm going to have to tack it into place, or else it ain't going to want to stay. So there should be plenty of room. I'm not going to use V-bands, so I don't need quite as much room. However, I don't want it right up against the floor. I want to have a little bit of buffer room. And then I'm going to have to figure out how I'm going to put an oxygen sensor in here. I kind of had to put it at a little bit of an angle down in order to clear everything. And my exhaust is going to slip in there. I'll be able to clamp it. You can see I've got a little bit of clearance right there, about a finger's worth. So what is that, about a 1/2 inch or so. Time to take the header back off again. So at this point, I can still get this header in and out of the car from the top, which is kind of crazy. It's a very tight fit, but it still fits. So that's pretty cool that I can actually get it in and out that easily. And that's even with the spark plugs in, so that's kind of crazy. So as you can see, there's a big size gap right there, so I got to get that gap down. In order to do that and weld it, I just need to make a cut, a relief cut right there, so I can tap this down, fold this over so I can make a good weld and get it tight against this pipe. Same thing on all 4 of these corners where the pipes come together. Once I get that fully welded through, this thing should be leak free. Okay, we got our little relief cut there. Alright, see how that looks? That looks pretty good. Now I just got to weld all that up, fill it in, and then do it to the other 4 sides. All right, my first header is finished. You see, got the collector completely welded up, and I have my reducer welded on there. So now it reduces from a 3.5 down to a 3-inch collector right there, and my welding has gotten much more improved. So I'm happy with that. One thing I'm pretty stoked about is that I can actually install and remove this header with the spark plug still in and do it from the top. How about that? That's pretty awesome. I hope I can get that lucky on the other side and actually get it to fit that good. Oh, I'm stoked now. One header completely ready to roll, finished. Looks like I can get spark plug wire right there. Look at that. That's really good. Not even close to it. It's not going to burn my spark plug wires. I don't want to run into problems with burning spark plug wires. That'd be terrible. And I think my plan has worked. This looks serviceable. I can get a socket in there. I can replace spark plugs with it on the engine. I mean, this is awesome. I'm pumped. It may not be the prettiest in the world, but that is going to get the job done, and it is serviceable.